Right, let's get going, because we've only got 15 minutes and quite a big topic. So, Sam Altman, CEO of ChatGPT, the other day said 95% of what marketers use agencies, strategists, and creative professionals for today will easily, nearly instantly, and at almost no cost be handled by AI in the next 5 years. So, true or not? That's what we're here to help you find out. So let me hand over to Suzanne to introduce herself.
Hi, so I'm Susie. I am a Senior Insights Manager for ABI in Europe, where most of you probably have not heard of ABI itself, but I can assure you, you've probably heard of our brands. So we are the beer manufacturer behind the favorites such as Corona, Budweiser, Leffe, Camden, Stella, just to name a few.
And I'm Tom Ellis, CEO of Brand Genetics. We're a brand growth consultancy, and we specialize in getting to those hidden truths. How do we reveal what people can't or won't say? And to do that, we use a lot of behavioral science, psychology, and empathy. And our vision, really, is to become the sort of best in the world at understanding human motivations and then applying those to business challenges. Now, we're not all psychologists. We're not all, we have them, chartered psychologists within the business, but we realized that if we're going to achieve this, we needed a bit of help, and generative AI was going to lend a hand. So we have created Lexi. Now, Lexi is built on the world's most powerful LLM, large language model, and has been trained effectively in motivational science. So she helps us get more out of qualitative research, looking for those growth-orientated insights around motivations, what moves us to do what we want to do. And she does that by looking for the explicit, the things we actually say, and the implicit, which is sort of reading between the lines. And to do that, she looks for sort of motive markers. We all give clues away in how we talk, and the joy of working through that in a deep lexical way is the hope to decode really what people truly want. So, how insightful is Gen AI? Is Sam Altman right or not? Well, we wanted to put Lexi to the test, see how good she really is. And so we set up a challenge, working with Susie and the team at ABI. Now, there have been studies done. I'll refer to one of those later on a much larger scale. This is the first of many that we're looking to run. But we've been working with ABI for over a decade now, and hot on their agenda is this topic of health and wellness. So what better subject when we took this on than Dry January? And we use this in effect as a mass deprivation exercise, okay? So what does it feel like? And I'm sure some of you participated in Dry January. What does it feel like when you can't have your favorite tipple at a certain time? And that's what we were really going into. Now, the kind of subject perhaps adds a little bit of interest, but that's what we're trying to unpick. But actually, perhaps more interesting was sort of what the challenge was. Now, we ran qualitative focus groups. So this is qualitative, I should say, not quantitative. We think that's a tougher test for AI. And we then challenged two equally matched consultants, as much as you can equally match two human beings. One took this on and was going to do a top-line report, 24 hours. I'm sure some agencies in the room are used to that sort of demand. Top-line report, 24-hour turnaround, and all without using any sort of AI. And then we challenged the other consultant to pretty much only use Lexi, right? That was the challenge. How do you effectively just prompt and push and cajole rather than putting in too much of yourself? And what those two guys, or names protect the innocent, changed, but it was actually two ladies, produced were two sort of top-line reports, and we then gave those to Susie and her team. Susie, tell us what happened.
So I am here as one of the jury members. So we got these reports, and we're asked to assess them based on sort of these 4 criteria. So depth, novelty of insights, clarity, persuasiveness, actionability, strategic value, and overall score. And as Tom alluded to, in some spaces, AI is really clear how we want to use it, where we can use it, the depth, the granularity, sort of how we see it moving forward. This was a much more complicated way where we really wanted to partner with someone that has that sort of strategic insight and sort of relationship with us, but also a really strong model behind it. So I'm sure you're all incredibly curious after we've built up Lexi what the results were. So who actually won? Anyone want to hazard a guess? No? All too scared? It's actually the human. So that might assure quite a few of you in the room, your job is still very much there, not fully replaced by AI. But to some others, it might be quite predictable that the human still won. And as an insights person, I'm going to put some numbers up. Again, they're not hugely quantified, it's a jury, but I think it really helps us tell that story of where we as ABI sort of truly saw the value of the AI versus the human and how that came up. So going across those 4 metrics, just want to focus on the top 3. So you can see that in 2 of them, the human really outperformed the AI. So in depth and novelty, the human really did its job there. And in that actionability and strategic value, we really sort of saw that human sort of coming through and sort of giving us what we needed a lot better. But when it came to clarity and persuasiveness, they were quite equal. So the AI was incredibly good at sort of building that report, telling us what we were trying to achieve, the top-line insights. It gave really clear recommendations. It supported them. It was including quotes. It was doing all of the things that we'd expect from a debrief like this. But where we really saw those differences were, firstly, I'll start with the depth and novelty of insights. It was really hard for the AI, we think, to sort of really know what we already knew as a business. You know, we have lots of gut assumptions. We sort of know what's happening in the market. Our human reporters know what we know. They know what we find interesting. And they have that ability to sort of really find that nuance of like, oh, that's a bit different. That's unexpected. And really to dig into that deeper and sort of highlight that insight a little bit more. While the AI didn't say anything contradictory to the human or anything wrong per se, it was much more generic in terms of what we were getting, more expected, and not sort of giving us that sort of balance between what was really new and interesting versus what was potentially already known. And naturally, you'd sort of see that that comes to actionability and strategic value. So understanding what we already know makes it easier to sort of give us really good insights and how do we action it. And as Tom said, he's been working with our team and business for over a decade. He understands the business really well. They understand the industry, and they understand ABI specifically. So they know the challenges that we face, how we like to present data, how we report it, how we talk about it. So the actions and insights were much more tailored and specific to what we would do as a business, and gave much more clear recommendations in terms of how we could proceed forward and, you know, move on with that subject. It was highly important. So it sort of really, really helped us in a way that we could move on and sort of make those decisions as a business rather than having to sort of dig a little deeper ourselves. So we obviously really saw the value of the human, but also of the AI. And just pulling some of the quotes from my colleagues, the human feels closer to what the consumers are actually expressing. It's a bit richer. What AI was giving was great, but slightly too generic for what we wanted to achieve. And the strongest is really in combining and merging the two. So we see the value of AI and what it does and sort of the depth that Lexi brings. But that human element and the strength of Tom and Brand Genetics team is still incredibly important and sort of something that we'll be moving forward to with. And hand over to Tom.
So Lexi has to go back to university or school or wherever she is. Is AI rubbish? That's the other question, right? Is it all on the hype cycle? I love this one on the left. Generate an image of salmon migrating, and that's what you get. You know, AI is a toddler, right? You know, we can see that it's growing. And I think the point here that Sam Altman was making was also sort of in 5 years' time. I mean, ChatGPT was launched relatively recently, right? This has been the difference between when it was first launched and today, from the people who know, seems to be night and day. And so, you know, who can tell? But as Susie says, what we know is AI can really help us in lots of different ways, right? This comes from that study I was talking about, Boston Consulting Group, looking across a range of consultants. They found that it can make you basically, helps make people smarter, faster, and more productive. So, you know, it's probably a no-brainer that we've got to find ways to start integrating this. And for us, you know, we talk about ourselves as a human-first business, but we're absolutely of the belief that AI has a role to play, and that would be in augmented intelligence. That's the language that we talk about, augmented or enhanced, rather than just artificial. So that's the 1 + 1 that gets you to 3. And you know, the truth is, speed is, for qualitative researchers especially, increasingly the demand that is being put on us. And that, I think, ends up being either a lower quality of insight, you get to the surface level. It relies perhaps more on more experienced researchers, you know, who can thin slice at a much faster rate. But from an academic perspective, I think there's something like every hour of research should have 3 hours of analysis. You know, when was the last time you got that? So what we think AI can help us do, and Lexi specifically, is really get through that kind of massive data and pull out key themes, key areas of information that can accelerate our thinking and can also ensure that we're not just falling subject to the recency effect, the last group you heard, or the loudest person in the group, or what the client particularly liked, and we can be actually much more grounded. However, as Susie was saying, that human instinct that we all have for what is new, what is different, what do our clients want, that is invaluable. And so that sort of sandwich, that human sandwich with AI in the middle, we think is going to be the way forward. So I'm sure you've heard this by now before, but we think, again, this is true. AI is not coming for our jobs, certainly in the next year or two, but it is probably going to be somebody using AI who is going to come and really challenge you if you're not yet. So get involved. We're going to continue with experiments and learning, and we're going to continue training Lexi and using her, and I'm sure she'll improve. And yeah, from the ABI slogan to a future with more cheers. That's what it'll look like. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and refreshing to see that our jobs aren't entirely in danger. I know I'm talking flippantly, but there's some really useful advice there about where it can help in terms of efficiency and speed, as well as a bit of quality as well. I think we might have time for one question, if somebody has one in the hand straight up there. It might just be one, I'm afraid, because we are very short on time. And thank you for all the ones on Slido. Sorry.
I have a question about the branding of AI. In a world where authentic is like the buzzword of the decade, artificial intelligence, is that not a problem, this artificial word?
I think it is misleading. It suggests that you hand over entirely, and that's where we talk about augmented, that 1 + 1 = 3. I mean, Susie, you're doing a lot on this for ABI, so I don't know your perspective.
So I think echoing what Tom says, there's definitely a role with AI in terms of helping us get there faster, but there's always going to be human at the other end. And sort of, you know, as AI is developing and the space has changed a lot, you know, AI will still not know things, it doesn't understand it. And I think how we portray ourselves as brands and sort of towards people as well will always have that human touch at the end. So Tom said that sandwich is really sort of the important bit, but sort of making sure that you get to that decision making faster and really sort of the nuance through AI.
Given that you remember teletext, you'll probably remember the billion-dollar, or was it million-dollar man? And I mean, that's, you know, that's the potential, that we've got a little sort of enhancement that can plug in and help us all to get better. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tom and Suzanne. Round of applause.